As you know, Carolyn and I moved on this property about 3 years ago, and we started building the place up, and I'm going to explain all that in just a bit. You may not know the extent, if you haven't gone back far enough in my videos, of our travels and our adventures. We worked for an organization. It was pretty stressful. It was a rewarding job, but pretty stressful. It was a sheltered workshop. We hired disabled folks to teach them how to work in a manufacturing facility. Some of those folks will never be able to move on from the workshop. Lots of them did. And then we just got burned up. We ended up quitting after, well, I was there, I don't know, 5 years. And she was there, I'm thinking nearly 10 years. Of course, we met there. After my first wife and I divorced, we got together and moved from the apartment that I was in and into a little farmhouse. I don't even know if you call it a farmhouse. It was 8 acres with a little stone home. It was 400 square feet or so. It wasn't very big. Well, you gotta be careful of trees like that. That'll fall over and kill you. That was like $350 a month. It really helped us save so we could, well, go debt free and save money and eventually quit our job. So we decided that we wanted to travel, but before we did that, of course, we watched a lot of YouTube videos. Man, there's a lot of dead trees over here. Wow, hugely dangerous. We watched a lot of YouTube videos. And a lot of these YouTube videos, or content creators, aren't even on YouTube anymore. And it was always weird to me. There was one YouTube couple, they were younger, I don't even think they were married yet. Yeah, I think they got married after they started traveling. And they talked about having to make money. And they did something on Etsy. I don't know, bought and sold things, or I don't know what it was. But they talked about having to make money. It really got me to thinking, how am I going to make money? So my plan was, and it worked out pretty good, was to try to start a YouTube channel, which I knew was going to be a lot of work. I just knew it. But also had an old business that I used to run for about 10 years that I made databases for. So I called up a bunch of companies that I sold these databases to and said, hey, you want to hire me to maintain your databases? And so they paid me a monthly fee to do as little or as much work as they needed on these databases. As I built the YouTube channel, so there was 2 sources of income. And for the longest time, YouTube only made about $500 a month. It wasn't much at all. So between the two companies, between the 2 revenue sources, it was enough to get by. Of course, we had savings. But the plan was, if we ever got down below a certain amount on savings, can't remember what it was, we would quit, live wherever we're at, maybe get a job or come back to Missouri, get a job. As we traveled, we realized that it wasn't as advertised on YouTube. There's this one YouTuber, you can call him Moses or Santa Claus or whatever you want. He really liked to tell people that you can come out here, you quit your job, come out here, don't have to ever work. You're gonna love it. Live out in the desert in a van. People really bought into that. I mean, I have known people who followed his advice, went out to the desert, and has died in the desert. One died from heat exposure, ran out of gasoline or something, couldn't get out of the desert, and had no water. Another one died from cancer, and I can't remember how the other one died, but it was travel related. Now, I know the cancer one wasn't. What happened with the cancer one was he got so sick, he just laid down in the camper and waited for death. I don't know how that's living the dream. And the thing is, this guy would hold a big event every year. I'm sure he still does. And hundreds of people would come out to the desert for this big event, but some of them would get left behind because they didn't have enough money to leave. So they would end up having to spend the summer in the desert. Now, Carolyn and I spent the August in the desert in Utah. We did it on purpose, and it was hot. At least we had plenty of water, plenty of gas, plenty of everything we needed. In case we couldn't do it, we could leave. These people didn't have everything. I mean, how do you tell someone to come out and live in the desert without a job? And then a lot of people just seem to think that you're going to get on YouTube and you're going to make it rich. And again, A lot of these YouTubers, I think even Moses said it one time, yeah, you can get on YouTube and you'll make it. But I remember watching he wasn't even on a YouTube channel. There was a documentary on YouTube. This is before, you know, he got rich off YouTube. He was an angry old man. You could tell it in that documentary. He didn't want to talk to the videographers. He didn't want anything to do with them. He would ignore them on the phone. He was angry, slamming doors on his truck. He was angry. And rightfully so. If you're stuck living out in the desert, you have no resources, you're probably angry. So I guess he forgot that and just told everybody to come out to the desert, live the dream. Of course, it lines his pocketbook, but it really does surprise me how many people buy into that. These social media lies. I've been watching this one guy, kind of shifting gears. I'm going to go back to the nomadic thing just for a minute. This off-grid guy has been talking about how he's quit his job. Learn how to quit your job and live off-grid. How are you making money? That is not a true statement. First of all, he has internet. He's uploading videos. I know what my cell phone bills are every month. If I don't have a job, I can't pay for the cell phone. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, Social Security. Well, yeah, if you're retirement age, I totally understand that. Carolyn just got her first Social Security check, finally, after all that struggle. Long story, but she's really fought with trying to get all the IDs. See, our camper burned down, which I didn't mention. This old man's out there telling everybody to come live in the desert, but there are just tons of homeless people out there, and they are not always mentally well. And so this guy, who I know who it was, the National Forest News knows who it was, don't know if we can prove it, burned down our camper. So we had to build a truck camper to continue on. So at that point, I decided to start telling, not that I wasn't telling the truth prior to that, but telling the whole truth. The downsides of living the nomadic life. Trying to get people to realize, and I think I changed some minds. I know there's one person who still watches my videos, and I don't even think she's interested in my videos anymore, but she watches it because I think she appreciates that I stopped her from making a serious mistake. I'm not saying don't travel. I'm saying make sure you got a job that you can make enough money to pay for your gas, pay for your food, pay for repairs on your vehicle. It was so scary being out there, especially after the camper burned down. I remember one time, this is going to have a point, when I was in business, I had to travel all over the Midwest, and I was in Wisconsin near Madison. A big puff of smoke came out of the back of the car, but it was still running. It was cold. It was probably 5 or 10 degrees outside. It was miserably cold. So I pulled over, and a cop pulled in behind me and said he thinks that it was water antifreeze. So I jumped outside. We both looked underneath there. Sure enough, the water pump had given up. So he says, there is an exit 2 miles down the road. Follow me. I'll get you down to the exit. So I did. I followed him down the exit. I stopped once we got to the exit. He says, just over there is a mechanic place. I went to let the car cool off, and I drove down to the mechanic place. I mean, it was after 5 o'clock, so everything was closed. And I just had my cell phone, so I called home to my ex-wife, and I said, the world has gotten really big, really quick. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I need help. So she called around trying to find a hotel. She got on the internet, found the hotel that was in walking distance. I would have never found it if she hadn't given me directions from MapQuest, I think it was back then. She called a mechanic, and the next morning got that taken care of. They called her to tell me the car was done, so she called me back, said the car was fixed. Another time, I was in Iowa, and I had taken my daughter on a business trip this time. I used to do that. We homeschooled her, so I thought it was a good idea to take her on these business trips so she could learn how to interact with people and in a business mindset. And my companies, there was a few companies that allowed that. So we were in the middle of Iowa. Plainville, Iowa, I think it was. It was literally in the middle of nowhere. I called home again, my ex-wife, and we had a second vehicle at that time, so she spent the rest of the night coming up. She probably picked us up around midnight. Terrifying. I mean, here I have my daughter with me. So imagine being out there in the middle of the desert, your car breaks down, and you have no one to call, no one to help. It's all on you. And when you're out in the national forest, you may not have a cell phone signal. So these people just lie constantly, telling you how great the dream is. And the only reason they do it is so you'll watch their videos. There was this other couple that I used to watch, and I never understood how they made money. It never made sense to me what they did to make money. Of course, they were on YouTube, so I guess they were making enough money on YouTube. But their lifestyle was so extravagant. They had bought several travel trailers, but they never explained how they make money. I think it was rumored that he flipped houses in his home state, but he never mentioned it. I think this is key, that you'd give all aspects of the life so you're not having people come out and fail. They're going to fail if they haven't figured this all out. Give them all the information. But like I said, I've been watching this off-grid guy. He's telling everybody, yeah, quit your job and live off-grid. And I cannot find out how he's paying for his cell phone. And I know he's paying a payment on his land. How is he making payments? So how are you quitting your job? I don't understand. He's lying. So I got a comment. Said, I used to live off-grid and I didn't have it as good as you got it. I lived 30 miles on a dirt road in Arizona, in the middle of the desert. No water, no electric, no car, no nothing. That's how you live off-grid. No, you didn't. It is not possible to live 30 miles in the desert without water or food, but water specifically. When we were in Utah, we found this stream, and I've told you this before, and every day I'd go down and get 2 buckets of water every day before it got hot. I'd filter that water, we put it in the Berkey and drink it. So it's not true. And I don't know why people lie about this. And the thing is, people will reply to those comments, really? That's such a, romantic idea, the romanticizing and all that junk. And I don't know why anybody would have said it in the comment section. It's not like they're trying to sell it. Like Moses did, he was trying to sell his YouTube channel. And he's very successful at selling it. I mean, he's great. He convinces you that anybody can just get in their van and drive to the desert and live happily ever after. Well, Carolyn and I did it for several years, and there might have been an ever after, but there was no happily about it. There were some pleasurable moments, don't get me wrong. And we think about a lot of those things that was really nice. And if we didn't have chickens and a cat, we may travel, but that's what it would be. We'd get in a truck, we'd travel, come back home. It's just too complicated. You're always looking for water. You're always looking for, water is the big one. Always looking for internet, because you got to have a job. Regardless of what these people tell you, you have to have a job. I want to be clear. Yesterday's video, I was talking about being in debt, paying for your property, paying for your house. Watch another video today. Guy's going to buy the shed for $12,000. He says, and they'll finance it for me, rent to own. Don't rent to own, because it's not $12,000. It's going to be more like $20,000. You still got to insulate it. You still got to put heat in it. You still got to put electric and wiring and all that stuff in it. There's a lot of work you got to do to it. Plus the interest. The interest is going to run you broke. So you're going to be up $20,000. You just want to get yourself a used mobile home where it has all that stuff in it. We spent $5,000 on our tiny house, and we bought it off Facebook, all the components, windows and doors, and off Facebook Marketplace. I don't know what it is that makes the dream so appealing that people are willing to ignore the facts. They always say that if it's too good to be true, it probably is. I'm telling you, these people on YouTube are telling you you can quit your job. It's too good to be true. It's not true. Carolyn and I are close to being able to quit a job. Are close. But I don't think I would ever quit my job. It's just too risky. Truck breaks down. We have a medical emergency. Of course, we have savings, so that's why I'm saying we're close to being able to quit. We have a medical emergency. The house burns down. I got to replace the house. So it's better to have a job. I still like to have internet, so I got to pay for that each month. Insurance on the truck. We were talking about making land payments, and I just don't think it's smart, especially being on YouTube, making YouTube videos. YouTube's too wishy-washy. You can make a lot of money one month and no money the next month. You can't do it unless you have a savings account, debt-free. If you're stuck in rent and you have a piece of property, because this guy who's spending $12,000 must have a piece of property to park it on, otherwise he wouldn't spend it. I mean, why buy it if you don't have a place to put it? The better option is do what we did, buy that camper real cheap. Live in it for 1.5 years. That way you don't have to pay rent anymore. You save those rent payments, and then you can start buying a shed. That's the better option. Don't go into debt, and don't believe you can live without a job. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about financing property. So if I can inspire you to be realistic so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.